Are we good? Are we live? Are we good?
It's getting there.
What?
Yep.
Oh.
And we're on Twitch. Not on YouTube quite yet.
Alright. Okay.
Why not YouTube?
Why not YouTube? Technical difficulties. Woo!
Oh no.
As always. And our audio is getting picked up. That's good to hear. That's awesome. Even though things are kind of going on the road.
It's sent to YouTube earlier.
Huh. That is strange. Let me double check on my end.
Well,
oh no,
yeah.
it's up.
Yeah, all right. It's just
up.
on a different. It's
Yeah,
just on a different screen. Okay, for sure.
So,
all right.
You know,
what up, Twitch? Nice to meet you guys. we're coming from YouTube.
Yeah. So as always, technical difficulties. We're trying something new. We're now on Twitch. We're now live. We're simulcasting.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know, we're like a podcast where we kind of get a little buzzed here and there. We talk about hip hop. We talk about video games. We talk about everything around the net.
So and we haven't said the name of it. You have now, if you're on Twitch, our YouTube audience, which is, it's not really there, but for those of you that don't know, this is Enjoy the Buzz.
Enjoy the Buzz.
Like you mentioned, it is a podcast, sketch, comedy show in a little bit sense. We have sketches every single week.
Yep, I am Truant Quest.
It's Truant. I am Justin.
And today we're going to talk about What If, our new thoughts about the season premiere, our thoughts on the new Suicide Squad movie. We're going to talk a little bit about hip-hop. We're going to talk about some video games like Back 4 Blood and, the open beta's coming up. Riders Republic open beta's coming up.
That's
so,
true.
All that and, some more after our next sketch.
After our next sketch, what we were talking about this entire time. Best way to show it is to just show it. Hello, and welcome to the next lesson in the Enjoy the Buzz class series. As we learned in the first lesson, a podcast has many different parts that need to be mastered in order to make it to the big leagues. Fucking hell, dude, it's already, we're so fucking late. We're already 15 minutes late. We can't restart the computer right now. Dude, what do you mean it's a different key? It's the same setup we've been using the entire fucking time. I don't know why this is any different.
Well, why don't you tell YouTube that? I haven't touched anything since the last time.
Well,
nowadays, podcasts are consumed in all types of mediums. Audio only, video only, audio and video. But the newest format is live streaming. This is tricky, however, because certain topics can be disastrous when taken out of context. Maybe it has something to do with the radiation, man, just from lineages of after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, just kind of changes the DNA. It's like, hey,
that's OBS.
Yeah, we bombed you a couple times, but in future generations, it's gonna be great
skaters. We're wearing completely different clothing.
They're inhumans, bro.
They're mutants. They're mutants on board.
We gotta
That's
cut
the
this.
secret,
We're live, bro. Oh my god.
When you are live, it's important to make things seem as seamless as possible. The ideal goal is to make it your this.
And now I think we're ready for Humans Go Hard.
Heck yeah, I agree. Malcolm, hit that button. Wait, Malcolm? Fuck. Alright, shit. Ah, fuck. Alright, which one is it? Yeah. Live streaming is a daunting challenge, but it provides benefits that are exclusive to the format.
Other one I'm using.
It may be rocky at the beginning, but we guarantee by live streaming it will help elevate your podcast to the next level. We can't wait to see your podcast showing up in the now broadcasting tabs.
It'll turn off on its own. And that's our buzz class. Clearly, we're very professional at streaming live podcast.
Yeah, we started. We're saying started on time. We were pretty on time with this one.
Oh yeah.
Technical difficulties were at kind of the minimum. Though unfortunately, we had one of the biggest technical difficulties we've had since we started streaming. It is unfortunate.
Oh yeah, we
Today-
forgot to buy beer.
Yeah, unfortunately today we have an empty bag, but we'll make sure to recover that for
we
next
made sure
time.
we got here on time. That's what's
Yeah,
important.
We can't give 100%. Like it can't be everything's too clean. Not everything can go right. Something has to go wrong every now and again.
All right, so we just got the newest premiere of Marvel's brand new show on Disney Plus. What If? How'd you like it? What'd you think about it?
I am really enjoying it. I know it's only just the first episode, but just even from the animation standpoint alone, I
Yeah.
think this is. I know we said this every single time except for probably Falcon and the Soldier. Like this is now gonna probably be my favorite property that
Right.
they've made so far because again, from the animation style, how the fighting, how a lot of the actions being able to be portrayed, it's just so much more fun.
Oh hell yeah!
And so much-
And Peggy was so totally cool as Captain Carter.
Heck yeah.
And like she was like falling from big heights, jumping big heights, things like that would look far more unrealistic if you were to do it on a live action movie. So we're able to see like full capability of the Captain America power, which is
Heck
pretty
yeah.
cool.
And that was the really nice part. It's like it's seeing that limitation that you have from making a live action series to now like all right, we're comic book characters.
Yeah.
We want this like this is the full opportunity to see comic book characters without it being like looking a little wonky because I know WandaVision kind of had that towards the end when it was like all right, which versus which fight. And
Yeah, it was a little corny with her against Agatha for sure.
Yeah.
I'd admit to that. It looked kind of cheesy with their costumes and the flying, but it was still pretty good. They
Yeah.
sold it, well enough.
It
I
was-
agree with that.
But yeah, no, it's really cool, and I like the approach that they're doing, especially since they mentioned before too is that depending on how popular some of the episodes are, that they can then transition that to being a full-fledged series on their own.
That'd be pretty cool.
And speaking of Captain Carter series, I'm already fully fucking down for it.
Yeah, especially since like it doesn't seem like Agent Carter is canon, the show, the
Yeah.
series,
Mhm. And also too, because probably like when Captain America goes back and changes his whole ass timeline, so that probably gets wiped anyways.
Right.
Not really a need for that. But no, it's really cool. I like it a lot. And I really want to see them explore Captain Carter a lot more. What happened after she jumped through the portal?
Right.
What is the monsters that they fought? And even like something that happened too that maybe was kind of like a throwaway was the fact that even the textbook that Red Skull was using to like, oh, this is the Tesseract and all, like this is the process, like the potential stuff, and like it actually has an Infinity Stone in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's referencing like, oh yeah, no, there's an Infinity Stone in the Tesseract.
Right.
It's like this energy battery, and it can summon things from different dimensions. That was like, wait a minute. So people knew about it, and like it was still not really being hunted for. So there's a lot of interesting tidbits that were shown in this 30-minute episode.
Yeah,
that was
totally.
explored.
And it was just cool to like get a brand new fresh take on a look back with certain characters like
Yeah.
Howard Stark, and
Mhm.
just to see him how they were, Bucky back in the day and stuff
Mhm.
like that before he became all emo and just disgrunted.
Before he became the White Wolf.
Yeah. So I'm totally down. What else we got? We got T'Challa, Star-Lord. We got so much more to look forward to.
And even Captain Carter, like, we're assuming that she's gonna come back at some point because one of the trailers shows that she's talking to Doctor Strange.
Oh.
So it's like, okay, how is that gonna connect?
Okay,
and then
totally, yeah.
Seeing the artwork for the show itself too, we're seeing okay, well, Gamora is in Thanos' armor and has Thanos' blade, so like she
Mhm.
then takes up of the mantle. That's kind of like she was set up to begin with. There's
So do you
uh,
think this will be its an entire own Earth, its own universe, and it's all going to be a continuity of each other?
I don't think so because the way they even explained it, like in the like these all seem like separate universes where these events happen, and these kind of like because like there's Earth 616,
Right.
Earth like 312 and stuff like that. There's so many different like universe variations, and that's kind of what we're jumping into. But it feels like the introduction of like in WandaVision we got
Right.
Scarlet Witch is a Nexus being. Well, what
Mhm.
does that mean? Do we figure that out? We have Loki then introduce, okay, there's these Nexus beings and there's variants who, the variants can get into a whole bunch of different messes. And
Right.
the Nexus beings themselves are like the staple kind of, no matter what universe they're in, like that person's guaranteed to be there and exist.
Right.
So it's like, although all these universes are kind of disconnected, I'm curious to see how they kind of string the ties together because we know Doctor Strange is
going to be very prevalent in the show for some extent.
Right.
And even in the artwork too, Spider-Man has Doctor Strange's fucking cape,
Oh,
which is like
cool.
a mystical item in itself. So
Right.
like, all right, okay. We got the Multiverse of Madness again, the Spider-Man movie that's supposed to have all the Spider-Mans.
I feel like Doctor Strange could lend out his cape though, right, to people
Yeah.
who would need it to.
And he can, and we saw it also like in the different Avengers movie, like the cape can operate by itself.
Right.
But it's like, all right, there's so much little things that are already kind of being hinted at that I don't know how many episodes the show's gonna be, but I want to see all this different stuff be explored.
Definitely, I would love for this whole to be its own like same Earth 626, you know, with Lilo and Stitch in it, you know. I think that'd be cool if those all interconnected and it all because this was pretty much replicating First Avenger.
Yeah.
So pretty much like the first in the chronological series of the MCU. So, you know, it kind of makes sense for it to be the start of a whole different freaking other like Nexus timeline, you know?
Yeah. I don't think they're going to be able to cram all of them because also we know that at some point we're going to get the zombies introduced and also Gamora turning into Thanos or like taking the mantle of Thanos. Like that's going to create a lot of there's so many storylines that those two kind of also being at play too in the same universe, in the same timeline. It will make it a little muddy. So
I believe in Kevin Feige and Luis Esposito. They can do it. If anyone can do it, they can do it.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But again, I'm super happy how the show's going out, and like you mentioned too, just how much more the powers are being able to be showcased.
Right, totally.
That's one of the coolest parts.
It makes it more fantastical. Totally makes it more like, you know, like a comic book, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm getting that feeling too. Every new introduction into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, except for Black Widow, but mind you, I haven't seen it yet because the motivation to see it is pretty low.
I want to see it, but at this point, I'm just gonna wait till it's out of Premiere Plus.
Yeah.
Premiere Access. Yeah.
Because it's even people were saying it's kind of like an irrelevant movie and it's not the best. It's like pretty low tier of all the Marvel movies.
So it has like nothing to do with the rest of like, you know, the Avengers and shit. It was just her little side quest.
Exactly. So it's like, all right, there's low motivation to watch it. But
I'm gonna see it for Taskmaster though.
Yeah.
One of the coolest villains.
But it's cool though to see like as every entry that we're dealing with now, like it's becoming more comic booky, and it kind of sounds like a bad thing, but in reality, it's like no, it's like we're finally able to see these pages really come full fledged.
Oh, definitely, for sure.
This one little segment,
and we're getting balance as well, you know, with Falcon and Winter Soldier, you know, so there is balance, you know.
Yeah, there's definitely balance. It's like I know also that there's gonna have like the Hawkeye show too coming out, which is gonna be pretty centered in reality.
Yeah, I think it's like more like family based, right?
Yeah, so it's like, all right, this is gonna be if there is a sitcom variation that isn't, you know, WandaVision. This like Hawkeye is most like gonna fill that role and stuff. But there's just so much content. There's just so much content to digest and fucking pick at.
Looking forward to it, you know, and we're like, you know, picking at Guardians of the Galaxy a little bit on What If, you know, hopefully like, you know, James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy, it looks like after he's done with Guardians 3 and the holiday special, I don't know if he's gonna come back to Marvel.
I don't think so. From even with like Dave Bautista, and this recently got re-announced, but like Dave Bautista said, like, all right, there's no James Gunn, like there's no, you know, there's not going to be a Drax. Like I don't want to have to do this. Like I was kind of only really signed on for the trilogy, and I don't want to get further than that. But James Gunn has been hitting it out of the park every fucking entry,
100%.
And it's gonna be sad to see him go from the Marvel universe, but it's also like. He made his mark. He really changed.
100%, and he made like my favorite like series of the MCU, Guardians of the Galaxy. But like at the same time, it's actually gonna give some kind of real competition to Marvel, which is exciting because competition is great for business.
Yeah,
it's only gonna push whatever Marvel pushed. Like it's only gonna push out their creativity even further. With James Gunn probably being the new Kevin Feige of the DCEU.
Yeah, which you know, transitioning or segueing into the next topic of Suicide Squad
did incredible.
Was actually fucking badass.
Yeah, honestly, like I don't remember the last time I really enjoyed a DC movie other than Joker, but it wasn't part of the extended universe. I guess now it's technically is, but you know.
And I totally agree with you. There's a lot. It's been a while since probably the freaking Christopher Nolan Batman
Yeah,
movies. Like,
aside of Joker, that was the last time I was really stoked for a DC movie. I even
yeah,
tried to be like, all right, I'm not giving it up credit. I watched Aquaman. Aquaman was terrible.
Aquaman, sure.
Yeah, and then I watched Shazam. Everyone was like, at least Shazam was good. I was like, no, I finished it. I'm like, I just watched the children's movie, okay?
Yeah,
And
it
then
looked like a CW movie the
and then a
entire
bunch
way
of
through.
Shazams just exactly.
Yeah.
They had Adium Brody, all right, from freaking Orange County, the OC, okay, straight up CW by the end. They're all in like colorful tights. I was like, no, no, this is not as good as people are saying.
Yeah, but
Wonder Woman, the first one was okay, the second one was okay, minus the ending, but it wasn't as great as the accolades it was being given. Everyone was like, oh my god. It wasn't
yeah,
that great
I
either.
think it was because Batman v Superman and the Justice League movies were so shit tier.
It was the first decent DC movie,
Yeah,
you
and people
know.
were like, they were giving it way too much credit just because it's actually like a decent movie.
It meet the requirements of an actual quality Marvel contender,
Mhm.
you know.
Which now, but like we're mentioning Suicide Squad, I think this is the first entry that really kind of is like, okay, this is now the conversation of DC versus Marvel can
Right.
actually start to have some meat and some weight
I
behind it
think it
too.
could finally start to happen. And we
Yeah.
got Carnage coming up, which is pretty exciting. People seem to have loved
Mhm.
Venom. And other than that, I think it's just a waiting game to see whenever James Gunn and his affiliates start pushing out things.
Yeah, and kind of speaking on some Carnage news too, it just been announced that it did get delayed again. I forget to what date or if it even's been announced exactly what the date is being delayed to,
Right.
which I'm okay with because it's going to be a very CGI heavy movie, super
Hmm.
CGI heavy movie. So if they need to take more time to make sure that the CGI looks good, to make sure that the pacing of the movie is good and stuff like that, especially with Suicide Squad doing so well,
Right.
um, I would love to having Venom, Let There Be Carnage, have some more time in the ovens.
That's always a good
Yeah,
thing. I'd rather things not
I'm
be
excited for
rushed.
it.
But what I've noticed is right now DC is really just capitalizing on their villains at the moment. How do you
Yeah.
think DCEU will start to change now that, more villains and villain movies are being planned sooner in the roster than hero movies?
I love the fact that they're taking that approach, and
Yeah, totally.
I really want them to double down on that
Oh yeah.
because, mind you, what we learned, like the best movies from DC, live action wise,
Mhm.
have always been because of the villain is such a strong role.
Oh
We
yeah.
talked about the Joker movie, that is a movie fully so focused on the villain
Right.
and how he becomes who he is. We talked about the Christopher Nolan Batman series. The reason why I had so much acclimate words.
Because the heroes were very much a star of the movie too. They're just an obstacle.
Yeah, but the villains were so really well done. Heath Ledger's version of the Joker
Yeah.
is no one can touch that.
Yeah, best villain period. Not even
Uh,
like Batman or DC villain, like just best villain actor period. He was incredible.
and then kind of going from that, it's like I think DC always had the best villains.
Right.
They've
Oh
always
yeah.
had the best villains. The rogue galleries from Batman's rogue gallery has some of the coolest fucking people.
Yeah, Batman alone, really like the only great villains we have, or at least a great amount of condensed amount of villains we have in comparison to Gotham would be like the Spideyverse.
Yeah.
Outside of the Spideyverse, other people are borrowing villains from the Spider-Man universe.
Because they're
Yeah.
that good. And it's so I want to see DC really kind of focus. Okay, we're going for this more gritty and more darker tones.
Yeah.
And it's well, the way you can afford that is focus on your villains, the people who it's okay for them to be these sadistic.
Yeah,
people.
like Marvel's marquee movie was the Avengers.
Mhm.
Their marquee movie should be the League of Villains. I think that'd be
Yeah.
pretty cool. Everyone looking forward to.
The League of Villains, Suicide Squad is really good, and even too, we haven't heard much news from the newest iteration of Batman.
Hmm.
But even seeing Batman being a lot more brutal, and a lot more vicious, even
Right.
that's fucking really dope. I'm loving that they're taking that idea of we're not gonna Superman as the poster boy isn't working out for us.
Yeah, I can't stand Superman, but you got a lot of people who find him as their favorite hero, and it's like, bro, he brings
Yeah,
nothing
I don't
stimulating
get
to
that.
anything,
It's
you know?
and it's also such a difficult thing to write for. It's oh, he's gonna win at the end,
Or
That
they
is
make him
Superman.
to a bad guy,
Or they
you
make him to a
know?
bad guy, but he's being a good guy at the end. We can't make him a bad guy for too long.
Yeah, exactly. But he's so easily brainwashed. This happened so many times,
Fuck yeah, dude. Which kind of taking that note, we're seeing if they want to focus more on villains and more kind of the evil side of the DC universe, having an Injustice movie saying fuck it. You know what? Batman v Superman Justice League did not hit. As much as people say, oh, the Snyder Cut was really good, if it takes you 4 hours to tell a story that's semi decent, it's not a good story.
Yeah, definitely. After many reshoots years later, you
Yeah,
know.
and it's like I would much rather them do like an Injustice type series, and especially since it's kind of seeming to be hinted at too,
Yeah.
with like the Joker having that monologue of like this is society and all that bullshit. I just want to see the more ridiculous, more villain focused stuff that we're seeing from Suicide Squad and from Venom, because seeming like it's working,
Right.
and I think it's so much easier for DC to say, hey, yeah, Marvel's all the good guys, all like the goody two shoe, very
DC
clean.
got to capitalize on what they got going,
it's
you know.
like, hey, we'll give you some vicious ass shit. It may
Oh
not
yeah.
be rated R, but it's gonna be some very different approaches.
Well, we had Suicide Squad that was rated R, you know,
Yes.
so I feel like they might be a lot more open minded to having rated R movies than Marvel properties.
Which you know what? I want to highlight one person specifically from Suicide Squad. Fucking John Cena, dude.
John Cena was such a badass. John Cena was such a badass.
Fucking good.
Hell yeah.
And he's a wrestler by trade.
Right.
And one of the things that like he's done, because he's one of the best to ever do it, is like the small little details, the small little character quirks that like are kind of built to establish your character to sell them over.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking as Peacemaker, the small little things he would do, not even dialogue wise, like when they're going through the camp.
That was my favorite.
Like that was like, I'm sold on this character.
Yeah.
I'm fully aware. Like this, I'm fully bought in now.
That one had me dying. That was like of the entire movie. That was my favorite death. There's plenty of them, but just like casual, like trying to one up Idris Elba, just like nothing. I'm like, oh my god, what the hell? I was dying.
And then like afterwards too, after like they're exchanging blows, like, oh, I'm trying to show off with this kill or that kill or this kill.
Yeah.
And even like the fucking like jerk off thing.
It was like a pretty cool like testosterone, like fuck you, bitch.
Yeah. And his elbow too at the end was like, fuck, he makes a good point. With the bullet that explodes. I think John Cena was such a standout character, and again talking about the villains.
Yeah.
Peacemaker is gonna get his own show too,
which is super exciting. Written by James Gunn too, again, which is pretty cool.
Directed by James Gunn, and it's gonna be John Cena reprising the role as Peacemaker. It's like I think DC is really hitting their stride of villains right now.
Fuck yeah, and I think that's a great idea. And like they make him a little more complex because Peacemaker ultimately he wants peace.
Yeah.
And he is in his mind the good guy, but like he's still working with the villains because he has to do whatever by any means to make sure there is peace. I really love that about their character.
And it's very much like they're really playing on the idea of like, oh, to you he's a hero, but to us he's a terrorist. And it's really playing on the idea and like really allowing him to like, okay, walk this fine line of what is okay to do in the name of peace.
He's exactly what our government wants to hire in the military.
Exactly. He's the best fucking soldier.
Oh yeah.
But kind of transitioning into some not superhero movie, but also talking about some villain-centric, villain-focused film series. I know this is something that you will probably be really excited about.
What's up?
Since it's one of your favorite film series of all time. Scream is having their 25th anniversary, which I didn't know that the film is as old as I am.
It's wild, yeah. It came out when I was, I guess, 6 years old. So, like it's literally my favorite horror franchise outside of, like, The Evil Dead. I'm a big horror nerd growing up, So I'm super excited, to see the Ghostface Killer slashing, or Matthew Lillard crying and soaked in blood in 4K, That's going to be so exciting. To see that TV drop in his face, I can't wait.
Seeing watching in the 4K, and I'll see that like the CRT TV fucking crash. I was like, that TV was there capable. You can't see this high definition shit.
Yep. And I bet this TV was still workable right after that too. Those were bricks. Let me tell you, they were bricks.
Those TVs were so fucking heavy, man.
No.
They were so heavy. Oh.
Is that heat exhaustion or battery? Run to the camera one.
Oh, camera one.
Should be Malcolm Full, just regular M.
Okay. Well, okay. So, we did not. All right, camera got really, really hot because we live in California and we're currently in summer. So this shit is difficult to sometimes record. We're trying to fix that right now, but the show is gonna go on. If we have to fucking do it off of this camera, we'll do it off of this camera. But the show will continue. As it's continuing, Scream, like we were saying, Scream 25th anniversary, I think it's really cool. Just again, it's kind of funny too. We're having a whole bunch of these anniversaries of film, video games, like different other media forms and stuff too. It just reminds me, like, shit, man, we're kind of old.
Oh, yeah.
To see like our childhood coming back in both fashion and both in media and stuff like that, it's just such a weird time. But I think it's really cool that we're having Scream being reintroduced.
Yeah,
Because-
crazy, man. Like I went to Six Flags like the other weekend,
Mhm.
and all I saw was people just dressing up like the '90s. Everyone was just wearing like loose denim cut up pants with the shriveled like bottom, and everyone had, whether it was like a old Iron Maiden TV
Mhm.
or like a t-shirt or a Cat Dog t-shirt or an All That t-shirt.
Mhm.
I'm like, these fucking kids don't even know what the fuck these things are, you know? But they just Google, is it '90s? Yep, let's rock it, you know?
Let me adjust it so it's so it gets both of us.
Oh no, the camera's good. The regular camera's good.
Regular camera's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will switch back. We will switch back to the regular camera, and I know that. Oh, oh. Oh, okay, yeah. All right, sick.
1080p quality.
Sick. All right, we're back to our regularly scheduled program. I didn't realize that because the
It was not flipped, yeah.
But yeah, it's fucking insane. It's like these kids don't know about this shit, and yeah, it's also like some of the music too. I remember we talked about this before off camera. It's like, oh, have you ever heard of MCR from like this little youngin? It's like, motherfucker, you don't know. You do not
Yeah, I
understand.
wore like an old beat up like MCR shirt to Hot Topic, of course, right? In my old age, and then like some girl on the counter, she was at least like mid-20s, and I thought that was really close to me. I didn't realize how far mid-20s is away from me. She was like, "Oh my God, MCR! Like I wish they were a thing when I was younger." And I'm just like, "Wow!" Like she looks like really close to my age, and for her it was like a mythical band. I was like, "Oh yeah, I saw him at the Hollywood Bowl." Oh my God, you're fulfilling all my emo dreams right now. Really? I was like, oh shit. It's like, wow.
It still cracks me up how like those bands too, who were like the biggest figureheads of like, you know, like the emo phase, punk
Right.
phase, goth phase, like hearing those like angsty teenage songs being performed by like 40-plus-year-olds is like, it's kind of funny.
But it's cool. Speaking of DC, we're getting, and I guess Dark Horse, we're getting a lot of, of that MCR influence onto the comic book industry.
Very
Because
true.
Gerard Way, lead singer of MCR, is not only like the resurgence, the single most important person for the resurgence of Doom Patrol, because he made it for under his little comic section, but he also fucking made Umbrella Academy, which is awesome. So
should be
read
returning
Young
pretty
Animal
soon,
comics.
right?
Yep, season 3, I believe, is coming back soon, which is awesome, which is super exciting because like anything Gerard Way touches, narrative wise, is fucking anything. Period. It's
Yeah.
fucking nothing but sweet masterpiece.
And also, kind of another show that we recently attributed just like honestly only 10 seconds of new footage. I don't know if you've seen it, but the Stranger Things.
Stranger
season
Things 4, yeah.
And we only know it as being the
At most 10
2022.
seconds, yeah. It was like a
Yeah.
30-second sneak peek, but it was only like maybe at least like less than 10 seconds of actual
Yeah.
new footage. The rest was old footage.
It was a fucking recap. Like, no, dude.
I was so confused. I'm like, wait, am I watching a sneak peek or a recap?
Yeah, and it's like the end of it's like 2022, so a lot of people are speculating that it actually might be a New Year's drop.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I wouldn't be the happiest about it because like I want to watch it all the way like the day of. And
I would have to drop on a holiday for sure
Yeah.
because one was released on Halloween
Mhm.
and the season was Halloween. The following one was released on July 4th.
Yeah.
And then so I would, if it's not like New Year's, it would be a major holiday. I like the
Yeah.
theme that they're going
I
with
do
now.
Christmas and New Year's. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think the other one was also like Thanksgiving too, right?
I don't remember. The first one, I don't know if it had a season.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I think it was just
you're right.
season 2 and season 3. Yeah.
Uh-huh. That would actually make a lot of sense since you know there's not less traction for a brand new show coming out. But
Yeah.
no, it's cool to see a lot of our shows coming back and like odes to a lot of like the olden days and stuff like that. And speaking about kind of like ode to the olden days,
Right.
transitioning to more video game news, Back for Blood
The spiritual successor
for Left
for Left 4 Dead,
A
Back
lot
for
of-
Blood. Yeah, super exciting. You kind of got like the same amount of like zombies in each map, but there's like 3 different variants to each one too. So if you have a witch, you don't know which variation of the witch you're gonna get. So
Mhm.
like, super cool. Back for Blood. It's literally Left 4 Dead with so much more dice rolls, a lot more RNG
Yeah,
going on.
there's a lot more RNG. There's a lot more like interactions with the environment and how it can fuck up and how things can pop off. I'm not gonna lie. One of the things that I'm a little kind of like it changes the gameplay just enough where
Hmm.
like it doesn't feel the same is the fact it's character classes.
Right.
It's like I know it in current kind of gaming the landscape like having character classes for like shooters are pretty standard thing and like that's kind of where it's like where it's taking that from but it's just in Left 4 Dead I kind of liked everyone being this
Just dead as equal.
yeah where like it's just a different skin that you're playing it's not necessarily an entirely different like build and
Yeah, I
loadout
definitely enjoyed that too.
yeah. So to it kind of now be playing with like loadouts and with like skills that are only to like each individual character, it's a little bit of shift that I'm kind of having to readjust to it because I've only been able to play like one match. It honestly was really like only for like 30, 45 minutes.
Hmm.
And I'm playing about more, so I have be able to have more like actual opinions about it next time if we do want to talk about it.
Right.
But I'm liking it so far. It's cool to be back. It's cool to be back to like that whole feeling of the horde and everything, the sound design and stuff like that.
I gotta play it. I'm not in the beta, but like it looks freaking awesome, and I do miss Left 4 Dead. And the crazy thing with Left 4 Dead, it seemed infinitely like replayable. Like
Yeah.
I never really got tired of replaying the same levels over and over again. You know, there were small changes back then
Mhm.
compared to now, but like this looks like it's just a complete like limitless replayability. You know.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, because like even Left 4 Dead 2, there's still some times like me and my friends like we're like, all right, we'll
Hmm.
load the game up. We'll play like hunters versus survivors sometimes,
Yeah.
or we'll just play survivors and going against AI and stuff. It's still such a great game that I guess that's probably also why like when it comes to Back for Blood, it's also like I don't really feel the need to necessarily like what's the best way to explain this? It's because Left 4 Dead 2 is such an amazing game and there's so much replayability to it. Back 4 Blood isn't as exciting because the original still holds up so fucking well.
Right.
Yeah.
What if the originals ended up getting the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake edition? We get, Left 4 Dead 1, Left 4
Mhm.
Dead 2, put them in a nice sweet package where they're in chronological order, and
Mhm.
we get both groups, the group of 4 from part 1, the group of 4 from part 2,
Mhm.
and you can use either one of the 8 characters on both, series.
Well, I think that's kind of already how it is on PC, to be honest, because
Yeah.
you're able to use the original 4 roster. There's a lot of the same maps
That's for part
from
2 though, right? I
yeah for
don't know if
part
they
2.
have that going on for part 1. I would like to see that whole package and all the levels
Yeah.
going on and all the models being brand new, up to date, crystal
That
clear.
that would be the thing because the only way the models are actually like to modern standards is if you put on mods for
Yeah, for sure,
it.
totally.
But at the same time, it's also kind of fun too to have like Teletubbies just be being the zombies instead.
I'm not too much into mod culture, but I've seen some funny things like on YouTube or TikTok, like freaking you have like the Dragonborn slaying Thomas the Choo Choo Train, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what's going
we're
on
fucking
here?
flying in the sky. Left 4 Dead 2 is the only game that I've actually ever really modded and played it as a modded
Yeah.
version because it's just ridiculous having these different skins and variants and stuff like
Oh
that. It
yeah.
just makes it so much more entertaining. But kind of into some other, reimaginings or, in this case, remasterings of some olden games.
Yeah. Speaking of remasterings,
There is rumors right now floating around that there is going to be a GTA trilogy released pretty soon, and it's a
cool.
remaster of GTA 3, of Vice City, and San Andreas. Which Vice City and San Andreas are considered like the absolute pinnacle of GTA. They're considered like the best.
Oh yeah, and GTA 3 when it came out, like it was like groundbreaking. There's
Heck yeah.
nothing like that ever existed. Like
Mhm.
sure there was like open world and shit like that, but nothing to that like pedigree.
Yeah, and it was such a remember like 1 and 2 was this top down, like you control the car and everything, like where the
Yeah.
arrow was with actually
There was one
third.
button dedicated to farting.
Yeah.
There was a fart button. That was a whole waste of a button. It was just a fart button.
So now there's potential we're getting like nothing has been officially confirmed.
Right.
It's just in the rumors, but from what people are saying is that it could be released as soon as this fall,
Damn.
which is absolutely insane. Which Rockstar has not made a new GTA since 2013. So
It's a little disrespectful, honestly. Like if they
yeah.
don't include Vice City, San Andreas, in Los Santos, as well as Liberty City, all in one game for Part 6, like I'm not gonna be happy. They've taken this long, like bro, you guys gotta go balls to the wall over
Mhm.
here, you know?
And so like that's where like this coming out, it's like okay, it's games we played before, but it's been so long, and to see them in a remastered version, like
Right.
we're seeing remasters for Final Fantasy VII, we're seeing a whole bunch of different like remasters coming out.
Yeah, even
And
at one point EA was like, "We'll never do a remastered," and
Uh-huh.
boop, we got the Mass Effect trilogy remastered, which what we all wanted, by
which
the
is
way.
what we all
Yeah.
want. And so like it's cool to see like that. This is actually I'm really hyped about.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about it before. I know we talked about it on camera. My struggle is playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
Mhm.
It's a dope game. It's an amazing game, but it's a really slow burn game. And
Right.
that's the reason why like I'm having a lot of difficulty going back to it. But fuck, I know Vice City gets released again. I'm playing that shit immediately because that game was so much fucking fun.
Vice City was cool, but I always struggled to finish like video games that are like just so long and full of side quests where I'm not sure what's the side quest and what's the main quest.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel like all the freaking GTA games. Like sometimes I'm not even sure if I'm following the right track, you know? And it just seems like never ending where I just end up doing more side quests that I just eventually, after like 150 hours of playing, I kind of get burnt out of the game and I don't finish the story, you know?
And I think that's the reason why Vice City is probably my favorite one because even the side quest storylines,
Yeah.
those storylines were so independent and so good. And so
How about the little RC helicopter, huh?
Exactly.
What was so good about that? That was the bane to my life. I think that's what made me stop playing the
I don't
game.
remember the RC helicopter.
You had this little RC helicopter, and you had to like drop bombs on little oil drums inside like a hotel parking lot,
Yeah.
and it was just the most impossible thing to use.
All right, what's a remaster? So like, I would hope that the controls get better from there.
I don't know.
worry
I
about
feel
it.
like they would leave the mechanics just as they are, just to troll. Like everyone hated it for this specific reason. We're gonna leave this here just to fuck with you. Sure, it's gonna look better, but the controls are still gonna be out.
I can see Rockstar doing that,
Oh,
but
yeah.
like everything gets like put up to like the current standard, except for like that, because if it's considered like the most annoying minigame, like nah,
Yeah.
fuck it, you're doing like the old school style. Like you got to earn your way through this one. I could definitely see Rockstar pulling some shit like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially because it's in like Rockstar vein. It's humorous, you know.
Uh-huh.
And it's humorous enough where like people would know they did it intentionally, not accidentally, you know. And
Yeah.
it wasn't an oversight or something they overlooked. They did it with intent to fuck with people.
And if it's done to fuck with people, then people are like, all right, you know, you got us on this one. We're not gonna be like, oh, you made a shitty game. It's like, all right, no, you got the best ones on this one. We forget how spoiled we are with modern game design and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of remasters, all right, you know, we talked about GTA, and pretty much Back for Blood is going to be a remaster of Left 4
Yeah.
Dead. What do you think would be some other remasters you would love to see come back?
Conker's Bad for a Day. I want to see a remastered version of that because I still stand to this, and a lot of people would disagree with me, and a lot of people have disagreed with this. The multiplayer alone is probably
That's Live and Reloaded.
okay. So fine, Live and Reloaded remastered edition, which will be a remaster of a remaster.
Yeah, because they ended up remastering remastering Conker's Bad for a Day before, but they didn't touch Live and Loaded.
Yeah. So I want to see Live and Reloaded as a remaster because I want that multiplayer back. I still consider it to be one of the best in like my top 5. Maybe top 5 is a little too much. Top 10 multiplayer
It's
of all
for
time.
sure up there. Because you think about your little like cute little forest animals, but I've never felt so much in war before.
Yes.
Actually coming out of the trenches, like I
Uh-huh.
felt more in war there than I do in like a Call of Duty game.
Yeah,
you know?
and it's like even like freaking World at War, like the actual World War II version, like what's the best World War II version of like Call of Duty, did not feel as intense as Live and Reloaded.
Yeah.
And just how chaotic it was, just how sadistic it was.
There was just so much shit was just blowing up. The weapons were realistic for a Conquer game, you know? Like it was just fucking nuts.
Heck yeah, because like mind you, again, like these are you know forest creatures and stuff like that. You're playing as a bear, as a squirrel,
Right.
like a whole bunch of different ones. But like you have these old school style like flamethrowers, and you hear them screaming in terror as they're being lit on fire.
You're just
and stuff like that.
incinerating freaking bunny rabbits and shit like
Heck
that.
yeah,
Man,
the
that was wild.
executions, like with the saber and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Cut through them and stuff. Like there was so much in that game that it was so cartoony, but it really, like you said, it really made you feel like you're in a battlefield.
100%.
From sound design and game design, I would love to see that game come back just because that is the most visceral military experience I've ever fucking played.
Fuck yeah, man.
And it
It
just happens
was
to
wild.
be with fucking bears and squirrels.
Yeah. I would love to see Splinter Cell Chaos Theory come back. Most specifically, well, granted, the story mode was amazing. I remember
Yeah.
we'll even play that multiplayer, incredible. But to get Spies versus Mercs back, Spies versus Mercenaries was one of the coolest
Yeah.
multiplayers I've ever had, like online. You know,
Mhm.
like I know it was more difficult to be the spy, and everyone agreed so, but everyone wanted to be the spy because
Heck
even though
yeah.
it was a more challenging one, it was so much more fun.
Mhm.
But you had people who stand by Mercenaries too and tell me I'm wrong. You know, being Mercenaries was the
Yeah.
best part. Super crazy different loadouts. You know, like
Mhm.
Spies versus Mercenaries was incredible.
And I think that was like the coolest part about the multiplayer too, was just how unique the loadouts were for each other. There
Oh
was
yeah.
very few overlap of like you have even same access to the same weapons. Like, there was
Mhm.
very few loadout like that were similar to each other. And so how unique each one of your approaches were in every single match
Yeah.
was so cool because they try and do similar things in like future entries, but it just didn't feel the same.
Yeah,
It
for
felt
yeah.
very generic. Like that
And
was
they gave up on Spies versus Mercenaries really
Mhm.
quickly. You know,
Yeah, which is sad because it was such a good fucking series.
super
And
epic.
and I think also kind of like one of the things too, and kind of also the same thing I'm having Back for Blood, how limited the mechanics were, and like, because a lot of times like they're adding a whole bunch of shit. Like the biggest problem I have right now with Halo Infinite is like, okay, the slide, the dash, the grappling hook.
Yeah.
It's like you're kind of taking it away from what made Halo multiplayer, and a lot of
Right.
games do that, and that's kind of what happened with Spies versus Mercenaries.
Mhm.
And to kind of go back to that classic variation of it,
Yeah.
where there's so many limited options and it's designed that way to make it more difficult. I want that
Yeah.
back.
For sure. Yeah. You know, if you're gonna make a Quake clone, don't differ way too far off from the Quake
Yeah,
roots
yeah.
that actually made the game what it was. You
Mhm.
know.
And so it'd be cool to get that back. And with how many remasters are happening, I wouldn't be surprised.
All right. How about a single player remaster?
A single player remaster, fuck. Um,
So while you're thinking about it, I think an awesome single master remaster, single master
Mhm.
single player video game
Remaster.
remaster would be Parasite Eve. You know, like bring back some of the classic horrors back, even Fatal Frame as well. I
Mhm.
think that'd be pretty cool. But like Parasite Eve would be so dope because that was coming out, and there was like two games that was on it, and then there was third birthday for the PSP.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a Resident Evil esque type video game, which was awesome, but it was more like in the inner city, and you're like a private, like you're like a police, you know, but it actually you kind of stay in the city or in the theaters, you know, like everything looked a lot more like recognizable rather than like being in some like elaborate mansion with an insane amount of puzzles in the middle of fucking nowhere, you know? Like so, and you know, even when they're like in, I don't know, middle of nowhere Africa, like in part five, like what I don't know what that looks like, you know?
Yeah.
Like Parasite Eve made it feel like settings that I could understand and like be like if I actually go out in the streets, I'm gonna be thinking about it. Like
You'll be checking your corners a little more cautiously.
Yeah.
So okay, because now that I'm thinking about it, like a lot of the games that would want remastered technically already kind of are being remastered.
Yeah, for the most
Because,
part, yeah.
Final Fantasy VII. If I were to have to choose one, it'd be Final Fantasy X to get a remaster.
I would say 8.
And I think even then, 8 and 10 are already in production to get a remaster potentially, if the rumors are true.
If the rumors are true, I think 8 is more of an assumption.
Yeah.
But 10 and 10 2 still hold up to this
They
day.
really do. And it's like, because like if I'm like, okay, Resident Evil 4 is my favorite one out of all the Resident Evils. It's
Right.
gonna get a remaster. We already know.
Oh, I
about
mean,
that.
I think we're talking about we mean remakes, not remasters.
yeah.
Yeah, they already both 4 and X and X2 already have remasters.
Yeah. But like I think like 4 I think is getting like is getting the same treatment that like 1 and 2 got.
That's rad.
Are
we skipping 3?
3 was 3. I think we're skipping 3. I don't think 3 was.
No, we skipped 1. We went straight to 2 and then to Nemesis.
You're right. 2 and 3. Yeah. We skipped 1. But even then, so it's like, okay, well, Ratchet and Clank was one of my favorite games. Well, we just got a new entry, and it's fucking beautiful. It's gorgeous, and it's amazing. Well, God of War was super dope. Well, God of War, the newest entry, is my favorite fucking game of all fucking time.
Yeah,
And
I could see that.
It's like, for me, it's really difficult to like want a remake or remaster because they're pretty much being made. I already got Crash Bandicoot back. I'm getting Spyro back.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, I got Sly Cooper back too. So it's like, all right, the other one would be Jack and Daxter, but even Jack and Daxter was like, it was It was super fun. I loved them, but like of like the Ratchet and Clank, Spiral, and like that era, like it was the lowest one on that list.
Yeah,
But it was still like a phenomenal game.
Ty the Tasmanian Devil will always be number one in my heart.
Ty the Tasmanian Devil like would be cool to see, but in all honesty, I think a lot of the remakes and remasters are the
Yeah,
ones that I'm really getting right now. And I don't know. I'm still trying to think what will be that single player game. And the reality is, a lot of the story games that I love weren't until like after I already hit the end of like the PS3 era, going into the
yeah,
PS4 era. We're like, okay, I don't really want them to be remastered since it's pretty recent since I played them.
yeah. I know, like my big one, the one I would say I've always wanted, and we
Mhm.
finally got this year would be Mass Effect Trilogy for
Yeah.
sure. So I'm stoked for that one. But like, I was hoping the same way you mentioned how like God of War and so like the new ones are
Mhm.
essentially better than the ones we missed.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't get that with Andromeda. So
Uh huh.
like, I still want that. You know,
The next good entry.
yeah, exactly. And it's already announced. We're getting 5
Yeah.
coming. But like I'm gonna be a lot more wary and a lot less like, excited,
Mhm. All right. Okay. I finally came an answer. I know you said a single player game, but I'm gonna cheat because technically you can play the game single player. Would be the Bouncer.
Oh yeah,
The Bouncer.
definitely.
I
Square Enix.
played so many hours of that game, and that was probably the game that introduced me to the idea of you can like 100% in a game is an actual fucking achievement. Like, and there's a drive and desire to do
Mm-hmm.
that. I think that would be my choice if I were to have, that
Yeah,
would for sure be my choice.
totally,
If it's a
totally.
game that doesn't have like a dedicated multiplayer.
I see that. I see
It
that.
was a really fun game. And
Yeah, the bouncer was totally badass.
I love how every time you beat it with a different character, it was a different story that they would tell and a different ending you would get, and you
And you
potentially
could
see
tell
like,
like the main character was like such an influence to like Sora's character design in
heck
Kingdom
yeah.
Hearts. And obviously it was from the same like character artist
Mhm.
Tetsuya Nomura, you know.
Mhm.
But like yeah, dude, like and it was such a random game that we got into because like we didn't know about it. Like
Heck yeah.
my friend just had a shit ton of games, so I used them like a library. I would come in and check in a new game tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm like, I guess we'll try that out. It's 2 players. You want to
yeah.
fuck around? All right, for sure. I didn't think much of it. Boom, blown away. If
Fuck
you
yeah.
guys don't know yet, it's called The Bouncer. At the time, it had like the best graphics on the
Yeah,
PlayStation.
it really did.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
You're fighting on top of subways. You're fighting in the subway. It just felt like The Outsiders, but with like Final Fantasy outfits, a bunch of zippers and baggy shorts.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like the game was like so like near and dear to like the hearts of the people who created it. Like even now when like the most recent Final Fantasy entry, you still see small references back to the
Really?
Bouncer.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's
Like
crazy.
the emblem of like the dog and everything
Ah,
as like a
okay.
trinket and stuff like that that people are wearing. And even like you said before, some of the costume design it originates from the Bouncer. That's
Yeah,
where it all kind of started from. And it's really cool to see. That would be the one I want to come back. 100%
totally.
though. And kind of last thing, the old coming back and potentially making the new. This is hip hop news.
Hip hop news.
Maybe not the biggest hip hop news, but I know it's something that I wanted to talk about.
Right.
And you know, we didn't have a hip hop segment. It's kind of it's our bread and butter. We want to make sure there's at least something from it. Asher Roth.
Asher Roth.
A name probably most of you have not heard in a long time or have heard to begin with.
You know what? Honestly, everyone in this age group that we're trying to market to, I don't think ever heard of Asher Roth.
Yeah. You probably heard I Love College at some point.
You probably heard your older sibling play I Love College,
Yeah.
for sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if fucking it pops up on TikTok at some point in time because I feel like that track will actually do really well on that.
Yeah, probably, but like that was back in the day when there was like, frat life and sorority life was dope and people were getting drunk all the time, People are not about that
We're not
anymore.
about that. Okay, so you probably won't hear Asher Roth again. Well, anyways, I just want to talk about it. He is releasing a new mixtape, The Greenhouse Effect Volume 3, which Volume 1 and Volume 2. So Asher Roth, like I like to refer to him as like the mixtape checkmark, or like because when people are kind of going up and up in their rap career, there's like some people that they'll hit along the way is like, oh, okay, that's a step that you take, and then the next one, like you hit that benchmark, and then your career goes up and up and up and keeps on going up.
Right.
And Asher Roth is kind of one of those people.
Yeah, he started that with mixtapes, but
Yeah.
are we really in the mixtape era anymore? Are we
We're
gonna
not.
see this in Spotify? Because nobody with a any paycheck, even making minimum wage, is going back to SoundCloud after discovering Spotify and Apple
Yeah.
Music.
And I don't know where it's gonna be distributed on. That's actually something I probably should have seen beforehand. But it's cool to see that he's reintroducing music again. That's not kind of like this like. Don't get me wrong. I really like the the really like jazzy fucking stuff that he was doing.
Yeah.
The more like kind of groovy stuff. But the Greenhouse Effect, the Volume 1 and Volume 2 were really like good as fucking rap mixtapes.
Funny thing about the Greenhouse Effect, the reason why he changed the name is because Frank Ocean had just come out with Channel Orange, and he had his album title, I believe, was called "Does This Look Orange?"
Oh,
was going
that's
to be the name of the
right.
title,
Mhm.
and then Channel Orange did so great that out of respect to Frank Ocean, which I believe is just because it was a reason for him to extend the date even further, to
Yeah.
have to change the theme of the
Mhm.
album. But like he changed it to the Greenhouse Effect because he wanted to keep Orange out of his moniker because
Mhm.
Frank Ocean took all the hype for Orange.
Yeah.
And it was the same record label that they were under.
And mind you, it didn't help him that much.
Not even
It's
a
not
little
gonna do
bit.
that well. But I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna fucking make sure to go through that because I love the first two. I remember really enjoying them when they came
Yeah,
out.
Sleep with the Bread Out was a fucking classic.
Yeah.
And he has many more.
And we're also getting towards the end of the year too. And what are the candidates for rap album of the year or rap project of the year or like even what's some runner-ups? Yeah, I gotta make sure I'm listening to as much as possible that I can. So
Definitely, and we'll talk about that more once we listen to Donda. We gotta get one more TD album in, for sure. So
if we ever do get Donda, they have to surgically remove Kanye West from the fucking stadium
yeah,
he's been living at.
Drake should be dropping soon too.
Uh-huh.
So we got a couple albums to wait and digest before we talk about the
Yeah.
contenders of 2021
It
rap
definitely
albums.
does seem that we're hitting that rap resurgence again after COVID. Everyone seems to be dropping the albums that they want to make or putting a lot more effort.
Yeah, definitely. I've been just listening to Denzel Curry and I'm like, oh shit, I've been kind of falling behind.
I
This-
told
this is
you.
pretty good.
I've been telling you for years, man.
Yep.
I've been telling you for years,
Yes,
man.
definitely.
Freaking, I don't know. It's just been a damn good year for music,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
hope that this project is another addition to that, and not something that's it's gonna flop 100%. But at least if it's a solid entry, that's all I'm looking for.
Yeah, I mean, he still gets to make music with Travis Barker and stuff like that. Other musicians know who he is, so he still has
Yeah.
opportunities to
He
grow
says
here and there.
opportunities, and maybe this is the stepping stone that restarts his career all over again.
Yeah.
But I think this is a pretty good place to end it. We talk a lot about the past coming back into the new,
Yep.
and I think that's
That's kind of been the times lately. Everyone's jockeying the 1990s,
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like yeah. I'm really trying to segue the show out, but for some reason I just can't do
So
it.
Justin is broken. So we'll reset. I'm gonna reset him right now. Turn him on and off. Plug and replug. Okay. And until then, we'll catch you next week. All
I will
right.
catch you next week.
All right.
I
Peace.
promise I'm gonna speak, but